Guys, UFC 272 is this weekend. Covington and Masvidal are going to step into the octagon, and DraftKings Sportsbook has got a real knockout offer for all of you new customers. Listen carefully. Bet just $1 on the main event, and you're going to get $100 in free bets no matter what happens. It could be a first-round knockout, a majority draw, a split decision. You are going to get paid, and yes, you heard me correctly. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still feel the thrill of UFC 272 with DraftKings free-to-play pools. Everyone can enter a free pool with $10,000 in prizes. Just answer a handful of questions like, how long do you think the fight will last? And who's going to walk out the winner? Follow along to track your results. Here's what you need to do right now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up with the promo code Sonnen. Throw down just $1 on the UFC 272 main event to get $100 in free bets no matter the outcome. That's code Sonnen at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. All right, let's stay on the topic of Dana's conversation with John Morgan. And it, of course, moves to Islam Makhachev. Now, this one's been a little bit hard for me to follow because I've heard it in a couple different ways. Islam gets the big win over Bobby Green. 24 hours goes by. All of a sudden, RDA is alone in a co-main event spot. I thought that Islam saw that and said, hey, RDA, if we can make this 170, I'll take the spot and we can finish this on Saturday. That's what I thought. Followed by Islam calling his bluff and saying, then 170 it is, see you Saturday. Followed by Islam saying absolutely nothing because he just got called. That's how I thought it happened. I'm being told on good authority that I have it wrong. That Islam did not go first, that RDA went first and told Islam, why don't you come up here? To which Islam accepted, to which RDA went and found a new opponent. Quite frankly, I'm not going to do the research. The whole thing was done over social media. It would be as simple as saying who said what, cross-reference that with a timestamp, and I'm not going to do that level of research. Even though I could have that done in less than 30 seconds, I'm just not going to do it because I don't really need to know at this point. That fight is not going to happen. It would be a big deal to me if Islam came and puffed up and RDA put all his chips in and Islam didn't sit down at the table. That would be a big deal. But it would be just as big of a deal to me if Islam, who we believe to be the number one contender, was willing to risk it all to take care of some personal beef that he's yet to tell us, the audience. I would have been in. I would have been in, I would have loved it, but I would have been very light on the idea from Jump Street, which was yesterday when I first brought this to you guys, and I said, and I quote, I don't think this is going to happen. Would have been cool, would have liked it to. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know that Jeff Mullen's going to allow within his own state, that being Nevada, a turnaround of 7 days, regardless of the lack of damage that Islam took. I don't think that got tested. I do not think it made it to Director Mullen's office. But if I had to bet ahead of time, that's at least going to raise an eyebrow. Fine. That's fine. At the same time that we're discussing that, and again, the timeline matters, and I'm going back to yesterday. We were told that Khabib received a phone call from Dana White, and that Dana told Khabib Islam Makhachev will be the number one contender. This is the information we have. This is what we operated under, which is important that you know that, because if Islam would have stepped in against RDA for whatever reason on next to no notice and put all that on the line, it'd have been pretty cool, right? It would have been pretty cool. But when Dana was talking with John Morgan, when it came to Islam, Dana did not say he's the number one contender. Dana said, I really like to see Islam take on Benny. There's a reason I made that fight in the first place. Benny's won 7 in a row. Benny breaks his ankle in training. That's the fight game. What are you going to do? That seems pretty fair to me. But that also doesn't sound to me like he's the number one contender. Right? If I was to compare that something to life, if you get done on one knee and you ask a girl to marry you and she responds, well, you're in the conversation of people I'm going to marry, just so you understand, you are not now engaged. It doesn't sound like you're broken up, but you're not now engaged. You don't get to pop up and go break open the Chablis. Trust me, you try to tell that story to your friends, they're going to give it a few thumbs down on your social media. So where are we at with Islam? It would be very unique that Dana would make that decision that quickly. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but it would be unique. Be very interesting that Dana mentioned that to Khabib, but did not call the media and did not call Islam directly. Wouldn't make it wrong. Just wouldn't be normally in line with how he did it. Now, the one time we hear from Dana, he was never asked point blank, did this phone call happen? Did you say that? He wasn't asked point blank. But he did make a comment. I'd really like to see Islam and Benny. Well, I would too. I really would like to see Islam and Benny. But anytime you make a fight, regardless of how much the audience is going to like it, no matter the willingness of the participants involved, it has a byproduct that in this case has to do with the championship and who possibly would be next. If Islam isn't next, who would be? There's only one other name out there, which happens to be Conor McGregor. But before you think that Conor's going to swoop in and steal that fight, it largely does. We need to see that fight. And Dana touched on this. He said, whoever is going to be the champion at the time that I'm finding their next opponent will, of course, have a say. That's interesting because both guys already have said. Justin Gaethje told Islam, let me fight for the belt next, but if I win, I promise I'll fight you. Oliveira's made it very clear he'd like to dance with McGregor, but McGregor's coach, Kavanaugh, who never bluffs anybody, I don't know if anybody in the sport can answer a question more directly and straight than Coach John Kavanaugh. He said, I think Conor's going to go 170 next. So we don't have a whole lot, is all I'm saying. My one and only point to you as I took those tentacles in 10 other directions was to show you that there's a lot of things on the table right now. I don't know what's next for Islam. I do like what Dana's saying. I do want to see Islam versus Benny. I, of course, could live with the idea of Benny healing himself, Islam having the title fight, and then they fight after that. Possibly it'd be for the championship for Benny. Walk right into that. Possibly it would be a fight against Islam coming off of a loss. I do want to see that. But I have to wonder if not Islam. See, it's really great to have a number one contender. But it's very out of line. We've only seen it one time before. It's very out of line to name a number one contender prior to that division's championship being sorted out. I could give you off the top of my head the one and only time that it ever has happened that I can remember, which was when Ngannou knocked out Rozenstruik and was named number one contender, and you still had DC and Stipe 2 months out from doing business. So when I tell you that it's very unusual, you then have Dana speaking to Morgan, saying a lot of things, but not saying number one contender. I just don't think we've got complete resolution. I just don't. I thought it was very candid when Dana said, look, whoever the guy is that's got the belt will have a say in this. That seems fair. It seems like everything's right, but it also seems like things aren't sorted. So put a pin in it for now. Things move very quickly. This is the sport of MMA. Always be ready for an opportunity and stand by. I will get you the answer to this.